in my view, it's a snapshot of modern Britain, of Starmer's stupid Britain, that pubs could soon be set to impose an extraordinary ban on customers, drinkers, discussing religious views, transgender rights, anything you might consider to be somewhat controversial. It's a ludicrous, but it's a serious situation. It's thanks to Angela Rayner's workers' rights reforms, which require, by law, employers to protect staff from being harassed at work by third parties, as in drinkers, customers, clients. So if bar staff overhear conversations involving what are classified in this act or this workers' reforms, philosophical beliefs that they find offensive, they could potentially sue the landlord, the pub owners. So when the pub owners impose these bans, we mustn't be too harsh on them. They're trying to protect themselves against this ridiculous Labour initiative. But it's taken us to a very dark place, and Labour should think about this. In a similar vein, football clubs, for example, could end up in a world of trouble, because if the fans start going, "Hey, ref, are you blind?" Which of course they do. They usually say, "Are you effing blind?" But you know what I mean. And they have chants about that. Now, fans who are partially sighted or really blind could sue the club for being offended. This Workers' Rights Reform Act just cuts to the heart of our social lives, and something has to be done to stop this.
So, I mean, what we've got in the UK and Western civilization generally is this massive move towards liberalism. We touched on it in the previous segment. And liberalism, in its purest form, which is what we've got, is the promotion of the individual's right to believe whatever they wish to believe, practice whatever they wish to practice, hold whichever views they wish to hold, and to hell with the majority. That's what liberalism in its purest form is, and that's what we're practicing. And in the pursuit of promoting the individual and allowing the individual to have whatever views, beliefs, and so on that they wish to have, we have become so sensitive to being challenged, or our governance has become so sensitive to being challenged by what's in the majority's interest or what the majority believe, that the majority need to be shut down. They need to have laws brought out to prevent them from expressing what you and I might regard as commonsensical points of view. Indeed, using language the way we used to, and I used it habitually when I was on a hockey pitch or a football pitch, asking whether the ref could see straight or not. But you've got to shut that language down if you want the individual to reign supreme. And when you shut that language down, what you do, as I mentioned, is stand against what the majority think, what the majority are feeling, and in essence, you are shutting down democracy. That is where we have landed in the pursuit of liberalism. We've ended up setting aside democracy, and we had, I'm changing the subject, but slightly digressing, but absolutely on the same line, we had the Labour MP, Tahir Ali, inviting Parliament, inviting Keir Starmer to bring in a law to shut down any criticism of the Abrahamic faith. Well, that is the reintroduction of blasphemy law. Yeah. We've already got non-crime hating,
which we got rid of in 2008, I do believe, and about time too. Yeah.
And hadn't been implemented or used for about 100 years. Yeah. And now they're proposing bringing them back.
Yeah, we're going backwards, aren't we, Ben? We're going backwards.
Absolutely, and we are all the modernity, the progress we made, actually in part as a result of liberalism, is now going to be set aside by this rampant form of purist liberalism without any balance for democracy. We say we live in a liberal democracy. We don't live in a liberal democracy anymore. We increasingly live in an enforced liberal society where democracy has been set aside, and democracy needs to reassert itself.
And where, in effect, it is a fact, you have no right not to be offended. There are no laws in place that make being offensive illegal, and yet our entire system seems to be going that way. So the victim, if I say, I'm partially sighted and they were chanting about the referee being blind, I hereby sue, that is seen as a really right and just legal action, because my offence as the individual overrides the 30,000 strong crowd and the players and everybody else who actually don't mind. In the pubs, in the pubs, you know, the offence of the bar staff, a barman or woman said, "Oh, I found that trans discussion offensive." You know, you could turn around and say, "Well, I don't really care. You know, suck it up, grow up." But under these laws, the alleged victim reigns supreme, and there's a problem there, a huge problem, I think.
A huge problem. And, you know, we see the other side of the same coin is the hijacking of the English language, the way words are used, the way words are weaponized in order to shut down debate. And, you know, the Oxfam, I don't know if you saw a couple of years ago, came out with a 92-page report on decolonizing the English language. And that was all aimed effectively at precisely the kind of thing you're talking about now. So you can't say mother and father. You have to say parent. I mean, how absurd is that?
Well, you'll be interested, Ben, perhaps, I don't know what you're doing, but later on we're going to be doing an item about drug treatment centres for addicts and alcoholics in the Hampshire area. The staff, the experts, the doctors who help treat addicts and alcoholics have been banned from using words like alcoholics or drug-free or sober because it's offensive to the junkies and the boozers they're trying to help.
So you can't diagnose a problem properly.
I know,
because you're not allowed to use language.
At which point, I mean, it is literally Orwellian. At which point, this wokery moves from being comically ludicrous to actually medically dangerous. It's unbelievable. Seriously. It's unbelievable. Ben, I know you've got to go, but thank you so much for joining us. Always a pleasure. Ben Habib there, well, I will say he was the deputy leader of Reform UK, but that's a while ago now. He's now a welcome guest on this show anytime as an excellent social and political commentator. What do you think about what he had to say? Let me know, 0344 499 1000. Do you, if you're a Reform supporter, are you worried about Reform UK embracing a guy like Charlie Mullins, who was pretty much a very, very hard line on getting the jab? No jab, no job. He wouldn't let anybody work for him who hadn't had the jab, didn't believe that people who had the jab should be allowed out of their homes, and is a manic Remainer. You know, he opposes Brexit to this day. If you're a Reform UK supporter, what do you think about Charlie says that Nigel Farage has asked him to stand for Reform UK? What do you make of that?